The world has sold you a profound and debilitating lie about the autumn of your life. It has packaged it, marketed it with serene images of sunsets and leisure, and given it an alluring name, retirement. But let us call it what it is. It is a modern heresy, a secular invention that seduces men of accomplishment into trading their territory for a life of managed comfort. It is a doctrine that teaches a warrior to voluntarily surrender his sword for a set of golf clubs, to exchange a conquered hill for a reclining chair. It is a graceful, comfortable, and spiritually lethal slide into obsolescence. It is the single most destructive concept for a man of God who was designed to finish his race on a full sprint. Caleb, at 85 years of age, stood before the leader of his nation, and he did not ask for a pension, he demanded a mountain. He did not request a place of honor at the back of the assembly, he demanded a forward position in the next war. He specifically requested the hill country infested with giants, the Anakim, the very source of paralyzing terror that had dissolved the courage of his peers a full generation earlier. What you have been conditioned to call aging, Caleb called ripening for his greatest battle. We are not here today to discuss how to age gracefully into the twilight. We are here to discuss how to age powerfully into the dawn of your eternal legacy. We are here to reclaim the Caleb blueprint for a life that finishes on the ascent, a life whose greatest conquests lie in its final, most potent chapters. To grasp the defiant power of Caleb's spirit, you must stand with him in two distinct moments, separated by 45 years of desert sand and the death of a generation. First, you must go back in time. You are 40 years old, a chieftain from the powerful tribe of Judah, a warrior in the absolute prime of your physical life. You have been selected as one of 12 men to undertake the most critical reconnaissance mission in your nation's history, to spy out the land of Canaan, the land God himself has promised as your inheritance. You feel the oppressive, shimmering heat of the Negev desert, the constant grit of sand in your mouth. For 40 days you and the other spies move like shadows through a land that is not your own. The tension is a living thing, a coiled serpent in your gut. You see the land, and it is more magnificent than any story could capture. It truly flows with milk and honey. The fruit is so large, so impossibly vibrant, that you and another man must carry a single cluster of grapes on a pole between you. You taste those grapes from the Escol Valley, and in their explosive sweetness, you taste the utter faithfulness of God. You see the promise made visible, tangible, and real, but you also see the opposition. You see the fortified cities, with walls so high they seem to scrape the heavens, and you see the giants, the sons of Anak. You must erase the cartoonish image from your mind and see them as Caleb did. Seasoned warriors standing well over 7 feet tall, with shoulders like boulders, carrying heavy bronze spears and massive shields. They radiate an aura of absolute dominance and brutal, unconquerable power. The other 10 spies see only this. You can literally watch the fear creep into their eyes, turning their resolve to water. You hear it in their frantic, hushed whispers as they build a consensus of cowardice. Their report begins to form, a narrative meticulously crafted from despair. We are not able to go up against these people, for they are stronger than we are. They speak of the land itself as a malevolent entity, one that devours its inhabitants. And then, they deliver the fatal line, the poison that will condemn their entire generation. And there we saw the Nephilim, and we seemed to ourselves like grasshoppers, and so we seemed to them. They accepted and then projected the enemy's assessment of their own worth. But you, Caleb, and your brother in faith, Joshua, see something entirely different. You witness the same giants. You stand before the same walls. But you are looking through a different lens, the indestructible lens of a divine promise. Your spirit, forged in the fire of God's covenant, does not calculate based on the height of the opposition. It calculates based on the omnipotence of your God. You step forward to silence the rising panic. Your words are like forged steel, cutting through the hot air of hysteria. Let us go up at once and occupy it, for we are well able to overcome it. While they saw insurmountable giants in the land, you saw God's indisputable dominion over the land. While they saw themselves as insignificant grasshoppers, You saw yourself as a plenipotentiary ambassador of the Most High God. This is the first snapshot, a man of 40, whose spirit flatly refused to be intimidated by the visible world. Now let the timeline leap forward 45 years. You are 85 years old. The desert has been a vast and patient graveyard, claiming every single man from that faithless generation. The men who trembled at the report of giants have long since become bones and dust. For 4.5 decades you have wandered. This was not a passive waiting. It was an active period of leadership. You have led your family, disciplined your clan, judged disputes, and served your God with relentless integrity in the monotonous, unforgiving wilderness. And something has kept the fire in your spirit from being quenched by the endless sand and sorrow. For 45 years, one image, one promise has been your inexhaustible fuel. It was not a fading memory of youth. It was a future reality, a divine appointment, waiting for your arrival. The promise God made to you on the day you honored him has been your constant companion, your North Star in a long dark night. You now stand before Joshua, your old friend, your brother in arms, now the commander-in-chief of the nation. The land is being systematically conquered and divided among the tribes. Lesser men, younger men, are petitioning for the peaceful valleys, the fertile plains that are easily settled and farmed. You step forward from the assembly, feel the familiar ache in your joints, but feel the unquenchable strength, the deep settled power thrumming beneath it. The lines on your face are a map of battles fought, faithfulness endured, and wisdom earned. Your voice does not tremble with age or uncertainty. It is not the plea of an old man asking for a charitable favor. It is the confident, clear demand of a major stakeholder, a man arriving to cash a check that God himself co-signed 45 years prior. You remind Joshua of the oath sworn by Moses, an oath ratified by God, and then you make your declaration. It is one of the most powerful statements of defiant aging in all of human literature. And now behold, the Lord has kept me alive, as he said, these 45 years, and now behold, I am this day 85 years old. I am still as strong today as I was in the day that Moses sent me. My strength now is as my strength was then, for war and for going and coming. He does not reminisce about his past strength. He declares his present readiness. Then he identifies his chosen target. He doesn't ask for the comfortable vineyards of Escol. He lifts his gaze to the formidable hill country, the mountain fortress of Hebron, where the sons of Anak still dwell. He points to the very place that sent a wave of terror through his peers. And with a holy fire blazing in his 85-year-old spirit, he says, "So now give me this hill country of which the Lord spoke on that day. For you heard on that day how the Anakim were there, with great fortified cities. It may be that the Lord will be with me, and I shall drive them out just as the Lord said." He didn't ask for a reward for his faithfulness. He asked for his next war. To implement this defiant blueprint for vitality, we must first dissect the psychological and spiritual mechanics at play. This is a case study in the invisible war that every man faces as the years accumulate on his frame. First, you must identify and mercilessly engage the true enemy. For an aging man, the true enemy is not his declining testosterone, his aching knees, or his chronological age. The true enemy is the enduring, insidious spirit of the 10 spies. The true enemy is the enduring, insidious spirit of the 10 spies. It is the grasshopper complex. It is that quiet, reasonable internal narrative that whispers seductive lies. You're too old for this level of stress. You've done your part. Let the younger men handle the big challenges now. Your best days are behind you. It's time to play it safe, to conserve, to withdraw. This is the voice of spiritual resistance, and its sole purpose is to convince a man of God to shrink his territory, to manage his decline, and to die spiritually long before his body gives out. Caleb's life between the ages of 40 and 85 was a masterclass in waging a relentless war against that spirit. He won by intentionally, daily, cultivating a different spirit. This brings us to the central strategic principle, the different spirit protocol. Numbers 14:24 provides the divine diagnosis and prescription. "But my servant Caleb, because he has a different spirit and has followed me fully, I will bring into the land into which he went, and his descendants shall possess it." What precisely was this different spirit? It was a spirit that made a conscious choice to feed on promise, not on problems, The 10 spies possessed a spirit that magnified obstacles until God became small. Caleb possessed a spirit that magnified God until the obstacles became small. It is a fundamental choice in perception that becomes a habit of the soul. The 10 spies saw giants and felt like grasshoppers. Caleb saw the same giants and declared they would be bread for us, a meal to be consumed, because their protection is removed from them and the Lord is with us. This is not a matter of natural temperament, it is a matter of severe spiritual discipline. You cultivate this different spirit by deliberately choosing what your mind will rehearse. Do you spend your days rehearsing your aches, your limitations, your political grievances, and the problems of the world? Or do you spend your days rehearsing the promises of God, the long history of His faithfulness in your own life, and the unconquered territory He has called you to take? The spirit of this world will relentlessly preach a gospel of decay, obsolescence, and fear to you as you age. The different spirit is your act of defiant faith, a conscious decision to filter all of your reality, your health, your finances, your future, through the unwavering covenant of Almighty God. Now let us apply the primal masculine activation framework. Caleb's demand for the mountain is the ultimate expression of the mature warrior king archetype. The warrior in an 85-year-old man can either atrophy into bitter nostalgia or ripen into a strategic, devastatingly effective weapon. In Caleb, it ripened. He refused to lay down his sword. His warrior instinct was not diminished by age, it was clarified and sharpened. He saw unconquered territory, and his immediate visceral response was, "That ground must be taken. That enemy must be subdued." The giants were not a reason to retreat. They were his God-given purpose for his next season of life. His king energy is revealed in his profound understanding of inheritance, legacy, and long-term jurisdiction. He wasn't just claiming a piece of real estate for his own comfort. He was securing Hebron, a strategic, fortified, and critical high ground, as the capital city for his dynasty, the tribe of Judah. This was a kingly act of profound generational thinking. He was establishing the stronghold from which his children, and their children's children, would project strength and authority. His vision extended far beyond his own lifespan. He understood that the most important battles a king fights are in his old age, and they are not for personal glory, but for the security and prosperity of his descendants. A true king never abdicates his responsibility to conquer and secure territory for his people. He simply changes his tactics, leveraging a lifetime of wisdom where he once leveraged the raw strength of his youth. How then do we architect a life that finishes with this kind of ascending vitality and power? It requires a radical, unapologetic rejection of the world's model, and a strategic embrace of three core life-altering principles. First is the Hebron principle. You must claim your mountain. The world tells a man in his 60s, 70s, and 80s to find a beach and disappear. The Word of God commands him to find his mountain and conquer it. Every man entering his later seasons must prayerfully and strategically identify his God-assigned Hebron. This is the unconquered territory that God has uniquely prepared him for this specific chapter of his life. It is almost certainly not a place of leisure. Your mountain might be the intensive mentorship of the next generation of leaders in your company or industry, intentionally pouring your decades of earned wisdom into them. It could be the disciplined work of writing the book that codifies your life's lessons for your great-grandchildren who are not yet. It might be using your financial resources and influence to systematically fix a broken part of your community, to establish a foundation that funds kingdom work for a century after you are gone. It may be the hard, unglamorous work of restoring a fractured relationship within your own family. A man with a mountain to conquer does not have time to grow old. His purpose pulls him forward, out of bed in the morning with a fire in his soul. His objective gives him a compelling reason to stay strong, to stay sharp, to stay engaged in the battle. The absence of a mountain is what allows the fog of decline to roll in. You must get alone with God and ask the hard question, what is my mountain? What is the high ground you want me to take for the glory of your name and the good of my descendants in this final, most important phase of my life? Do not look for what is easy. Do not look for what is comfortable. That is the path of the 10 spies. Look for the challenge that contains giants. Look for the objective that makes you feel a stirring of both holy fire and healthy fear. That intersection is where your mountain lies. Write it down. Give it a name. Describe it in detail. Identify the giants that currently occupy it. Define, with clarity,
what total victory would look like. Begin to map the terrain for your campaign. Second is the principle of the 45-year promise. You must fuel yourself on faith. Caleb's astonishing physical and spiritual vigor at 85 was not the result of a special diet or a Mediterranean exercise program. It was the physical manifestation of a spirit that was sustained by a single, powerful promise that he had actively nurtured for 45 years. He kept that promise alive and vibrant in his heart during the long, hard, monotonous years of wandering. This is your task as a mature man of God. You must become a masterful steward of the promises of God. What has God said in His Word that applies to you, your family, your finances, your legacy? You must find those promises, write them down, and make them the central, dominating focus of your thought life. Your long-term memory should become a library of God's past faithfulness, and your long-term vision must be locked onto His future promises. This is the high-octane fuel for the human spirit. Without it, the engine of your life will sputter and die on fumes of nostalgia. A man who has a future vision bigger than his past memories will always find the strength to get there. Third is the conscious cultivation of dynasty consciousness. Caleb was not fighting for himself. Hebron became the capital of Judah, the royal tribe of David, and ultimately, the messianic line of Christ himself. His personal battle had staggering, eternal consequences. As a mature man, your entire perspective must shift from the pursuit of personal success to the establishment of dynastic succession. The mountains you conquer today become the fortified high ground from which your children and grandchildren will fight their future battles. The wisdom you codify, the wealth you steward with a kingdom mindset, the family culture of faith you intentionally build, these are the fortresses and armories you leave behind. Ask yourself this piercing question every day. Is the battle I am fighting today one that will matter in 100 years? Am I building something that will outlast me? A man focused on dynasty does not decline. He invests. He spends his final years planting trees whose shade he will never personally enjoy, knowing with deep satisfaction that his sons will. This is the moment of decision. We move now from divine inspiration to decisive activation. We will create a point of no return from the world's seductive pattern of decline. First, you must execute a paradigm shift in your core vocabulary and mindset. From this day forward, the word retirement is dead to you. It is hereby erased from your kingdom lexicon. It is replaced with the powerful, strategic term redeployment. You do not retire from the army of God. When one tour of duty ends, a veteran is not discarded. He is redeployed to a new, more strategic front. Your wisdom is your new primary weapon. Your experience is your new, unassailable high ground. Your influence is your air support. To accept the world's definition of retirement is to effectively desert your post in the most critical phase of the multi-generational war. As of today, that is no longer an option for you. Second, you will immediately adopt a new title and identity. You are not a senior citizen. You are not a retiree. You are not an old-timer. These are worldly labels of disengagement, passivity, and weakness. Your proper God-given title is Patriarch. Your title is Elder Statesman. Your title is Sage. Your rank is General, not Private. You are a living library, a repository of battle-tested wisdom that is priceless to the younger generations who are fighting blind. You must begin to carry yourself as such. You are not fading away. You are consolidating your power to project wisdom and influence with maximum, devastating effect. The younger men are starving for true patriarchs. They need your steady hand, your seasoned perspective, and your unwavering, time-tested faith. Step fully into that identity. Finally, I am giving you a command, not a casual suggestion. This is the Mountain Conquest mandate. This week you will schedule 3 hours of absolute, inviolable, uninterrupted silence. No phone, no television, no people, no distractions. Get alone with God, your Bible, and a journal. You will ask one question, and you will stay there until you have the beginning of a concrete answer. Lord, what is my Hebron? What is the specific mountain of influence, service, or challenge that you have assigned to me for this season of my life? Do not look for what is easy. Do not look for what is comfortable. That is the path of the 10 spies. Look for the challenge that contains giants. Look for the objective that makes you feel a stirring of both holy fire and healthy fear. That intersection is where your mountain lies. Write it down. Give it a name. Describe it in detail. Identify the giants that currently occupy it. Define, with clarity, what total victory would look like. Begin to map the terrain for your campaign. As you do this, you will feel a profound shift in your entire being. The low-grade fog of aimless aging will begin to burn off, replaced by the sharp, clear, invigorating air of purpose. Your renewed vigor will become a gravitational force, attracting younger men who are desperate for a general to follow. You are becoming the patriarch your bloodline has been waiting for. You are becoming the elder your church and community so desperately need. Caleb's story is not a quaint tale from the distant past. It is a prophetic mandate, and a strategic blueprint for every man of God who refuses to believe his greatest contributions are behind him. Your body may be 85, but your spirit can be as ready for war as it was at 40. God in his sovereignty has kept you alive for such a time as this. Now go and claim your mountain.